and welcome back to part three, where I'm thrilled to say we're joined by a proper boxing legend, the one and only Amir Khan. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing really well. That was a nice little intro.
Yeah, but it's,
A proper
listen,
legend. A proper legend is right. Boxing's been kind, and yeah, I do miss the sport now and then. It's funny because I remember when I started my career off, people would always say, call me from being in the Olympics and the Olympian silver medalist. Then I went to being a world champion. So sometimes you get so used to that now. When people say you're retired or you're a boxing legend or you're a retired fighter, it's hard to sink in because it doesn't seem, because I'm still young and it's still quite fresh to me, being retired.
I don't think
definitely.
it's until you retire, Amir, that you actually realise what you've achieved in your career, going from the young Olympian, a silver medal, and then beating Kindling and a rematch down the line, a world champion, I think the third youngest British world champion, multi-weight world champion. You never ducked anybody. Like, I mean, Josh did say it a proper legend, but it's deservedly so.
No, sometimes, Carl, you'd forget sometimes what you've done in your career, and the people you fought, and the changes you made in boxing. Bringing in a lot more Asian boxers. Before there were no Asian boxers at all. Used to box. Instead their parents would be like, "Nah, go into education," but not boxing. And now there's a lot more Asians out there. So open the door to them. And then fighting around the world, knowing that boxing could give you a good life. I mean, even yourself, Carl, you've been there, you've done it. I'm sure you were two-time world champion as well, or the two division.
Three, but two weights.
Oh, really? Three-time world champion. So I mean, it's just that's nice. That's good, man. So I mean,
it's all right, isn't it? Here, it's more than I expected to do, Amir, anyway.
Yeah, and same with me, bro. Look, I was just happy to be a pro and win one world title. But then when you start going into that world title fights and you start, mixing yourself with the big names like Mayweather, then Pacquiao, and I mean that for me alone was massive. To be one of the big household names in boxing and then go to America and fight over there. It was my dream to fight in America, but I mean to fight there many times and fight the likes of Canelo, Crawford, guys who I've always looked up to. It's God's been kind.
Do you miss it then, Amir? It's something I don't. Just so you know,
well, to be honest,
delighted to be on the other side of it.
Yeah, you know what? I do miss I do miss it in a little bit in a way where you're going to events and you're getting weighed in, being in good shape, and then being in that ring and you've got the whole crowd there supporting you. But then again, I don't really miss it as well. I'm kind of happy that it's gone. I've ticked that box now because there was so much pressure on my shoulders, and every fight was a hard fight. And even when I wasn't in training camp, I'll always be like, "Oh, you know what? I can't eat this, or I can't do this. I can't go here on holiday because I'm gonna be in training camp soon." So really, boxing took a big part of my life, and I'm kind of glad that it's done now. That pressure off my shoulders is gone, and I can now be a normal father, normal husband to my family. Because normally with my kids as well, taking them, if my wife was like, let's take them on a little vacation, I couldn't do them things because I knew that I had training camp, so I had to get my bags ready and I had to get everything set. But yeah, I'm glad in a way it's over because sometimes you got a bit too much. And when you start, it got to a stage towards the end of my career, especially the last 2-3 fights, that I kind of lost love for the sport. But people knew me as a fighter, as a boxer, so I kept on boxing because I was like, people know me as a fighter, so I'm just going to keep on doing it. But really, I didn't really love the sport. It's just like I had to go and do it.
Talking about maybe not the same fighters as they were, but still present in the sport. The likes of Floyd Mayweather, Pacquiao, they're doing a lot of, I guess, exhibition fights. Is that anything that you'd want to do where it's maybe not quite as serious? You're not going to get tagged. It's something that you look at and go, finally, I can have that fight with Pacquiao.
Yes, you see, I'll ask Carl this question. I mean, it's just how you are as a person, how you are as a fighter. Like in my last fight, I don't know how you felt in your last fight, Carl, against Jamel, Were you nervous in it anyway when you walk into the ring? What were you like? What was your? Did you have any butterflies? Were you calm,
Not
chilled?
not not overly not overly nervous. It was a strange feeling because it was in Dubai
Yeah,
as well, and it was during COVID, and it was pretty
yeah.
quiet. It was all just a bit strange.
Because yeah, because the reason I asked that is because when I was walking, when I was going to the fight with Kel, I had no nerves at all. But at the same time, it's like I wanted it over with. I remember looking at the clock before leaving the changing rooms and thinking, in 2 hours' time, I'll be in my bed. And that's such a bad way to think about it now, looking back at it, thinking, because I just wanted it done with. Like, I was so sick of the training camp. It was so long and hard. And the fight week was so long. And there's so much we had to do. I just wanted it over with. And I remember looking and thinking, oh, man, 2 more hours, it's all going to be it. It's all going to be done. And I never had that thinking before, mind frame before it was like, I can't wait to get in that ring and put on a performance. But this time it was like, I just want it over with. So I don't know if you ever felt like that.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that completely. And Josh, you're talking about the exhibition stuff as well. Is that something that appeals to you, Amir? Like, would you be open to one of these sort of things?
It depends, really. I know there's a lot of exhibitions happening. Mayweather's doing a lot. Manny Pacquiao, I heard, wants to do some. Yeah, I mean, look, I might give it a go. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. It's been a year now where I'm not being a boxer, and I do kind of miss it a little bit. Just to kind of, have them people screaming your name out and stuff, and just getting back in the ring, maybe throwing a punch, seeing if I've still got it. Because since I retired, I've not really gone in the gym or even throwing a punch. But I'd like to do it. Yeah, I'd like to do it. Look, end of the day, we all prize fighters. We're so used to making big money for fights, and if there's an opportunity there for you, I think we'd be stupid not to take it. So I will definitely take it. And you have to remember as well, Carl, they only 8 2-minute rounds. So I mean, I
Yeah.
could do that even not being in a training camp. Even if I could just I'm not trained at all. Last
Oh,
one,
I
could go in
couldn't.
the
I
gym and do
couldn't.
it.
Right? Could you do 8 2s right now?
I think so. Yeah.
I couldn't. Not a chance.
You've gone from being convinced to not convinced at all.
I was just thinking. It just depends who it's against, though. If it's against like a YouTuber who's not really fought before, like how we saw Fury fight against Logan Paul, but then again, not Logan Paul. Sorry, what's he called? Jake Paul.
Jake Paul, yeah.
Yeah, I think. But then again, look, thinking about that, Jake was not a bad fighter, really. Jake is a lot better than most YouTubers when it comes to fight. But look, it just depends who you got in front of you. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to just step into a ring. I mean, I'd like to think that, but after a round or two, I'd be like thinking, I need to go back in camp.
Can you give me your highest moment of your career and your lowest moment and why?
My highest has to be the Kotelnik fight, because why? It was like 2 fights after I got beat by Prescott when everyone thought I was done. Even I kind of was thinking to myself that maybe I will never become a world champion. I'll never be what people thought I'd be, the fighter. And but then obviously I surprised everyone. So that has to be one of the highest moments because that brought my confidence back then to be on that world-class level. So yeah, the Kotelnik fight for me was the highest moment. And then the lowest moment probably was just waiting around for when the Mayweather fight was being talked about and I was getting told that I've got the fight. And one of the reasons the fight didn't happen was because I announced the fight before Mayweather. And my side of the contract was signed, but because I announced it before him, he kind of spat his dummy out and said the fight's not happening.
That's so petty. Is that it? Is that the only reason?
Yeah.
That's very Floyd.
Yeah, and that's the reason he said, I'm not giving you the fight now. And then he went on and fought Berto. Yeah.
Bad. You know what? It's unfortunate.
Mayweather can do that. He's such a big name. You can't. I mean, what he says goes. Because he's the big pay-per-view seller in America and everything else. So you have to respect that. But yeah, I mean, now obviously Canelo's got that position where now Canelo can do what he wants, and he dictates. But it's boxing. You know, you have to be a someone if you want things to go your way.
So that was it for part 3 of Chatterbox. Join us after the break where we'll be joined again by Amir Khan. Welcome back to the final part of Chatterbox. Alongside me, we have Carl Frampton and Amir Khan. Earlier on the show, we spoke to Frank Warren and Tommy Fury to discuss Tommy's win over Jake Paul. Amir, what did you make of the fight?
You know what? I never expected Jake to put on a performance that he put on. I mean, look, to get a knockdown as well, and then to he seemed very confident throughout the whole fight. I mean, the whole build up of the fight, and then but I did see one thing, that when it come more close to the fight week, I think it kind of hit him that, look, it's time to fight now, and you could see his nerves kicking in. You can see that he was as confident or as cocky as he was. To me, it showed me a lot where Fury is gonna go from here. He's still got a long way to go, and maybe this fight will help him a lot, because it'll make him realize that he needs to work on a lot more fundamental things, and he needs to work on a lot more basic things to get to that level, because always that pressure's on Tommy. People are going to compare him to his brother Tyson. So in a way, I think it kind of gives him a lot of takes a lot of pressure away from him now, because people know he's his own man, and he's got his own style. So yeah, we can't really keep pushing that he's going to be a world champion in a couple of fights. He might never get to world class level, but he got the win last weekend, so yeah, that was good.
I was going to say, now we know Tommy can now say, like, listen, I'm a bona fide boxer. Jake Paul can probably say the same about himself now, but
Yeah,
what do you make of like the whole YouTube boxing phenomenon that's gone crazy last year and a half, 2 years?
100%, but it's massive. It is really, really big. And I think what was happening was UFC was taking over, and everyone's talking about UFC, MMA. It surpassed boxing and left boxing behind. Now boxing's coming back again. You know, it's coming back, and it's getting people watching. You know, you're getting bums on seats, and you see in Saudi Arabia, you've got people talking about the fights now. When Jake was fighting Tommy, I mean, even though it was a world title fight, it was a YouTube fight versus a boxer. People were like still so entertained by that, so hyped up by that. So I think that's what boxing needed. It needs to bring that love back for fans to get back into boxing, because like I said, UFC was taking over.
I think I actually differentiate like guys like, well, Tommy Fury is clearly a boxer, but even, like Jake Paul, I don't have him. I don't see him as the YouTuber boxer anymore. I see him as a novice professional, because he's got a lot of money. He's been paying good sparring partners, the top guys to train him, strength conditioning coaches, nutritionists. He's living the life of a boxer. Now there's other stuff going on, and this misfit stuff and all, which I pay no attention to. That doesn't interest me in the slightest. But I think it's now probably unfair to label Jake Paul as a YouTube fighter. I think he's a novice professional who can say that.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I mean, especially when he knocked out is he Tyrone, the guy from UFC?
Tyrone Woodley. He knocked down Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva as well. So these are not. And I just seen an article on Jake saying that he was sick a week before the fight. Now, I don't know how much truth is in that, but he's saying he was sick a week before the fight. And if you look at the performance I did against, this is what his words were. I had a better performance when I fought against the Spider-Man, what's his name? Anderson Silva. Yeah, and if I boxed the same way, because he says that Anderson Silva was a better fighter than Fury. So, I mean, I think the rematch, if there is going to be one, I think there's still a lot of interest there, because people, like I said, it wasn't really a convincing win for Fury, for Tommy. So I think that the rematch is still going to be big as well.
I think it will be, but this is I think that looking at that last fight and having picked Jake Paul actually to win it in the build-up, it's hard. Although he done okay in the fight, and he should be proud of himself for the performance. Yeah. It's hard to see how he beats Tommy Fury in a rematch. I think he couldn't figure out Tommy's jab. He does. I agree.
He has to totally change everything. he has to be the aggressive guy, come forward and just let it all go. I mean, he has to give it his all, because I think there were times in that fight where I think his fitness, you could see his fitness wasn't there. And that's where Tommy then put the pressure on him and pushed him back and caught him with some good clean shots. But then again, when he was at his best in the ring, when he was putting them combinations and them flurries, he was doing really well. It's all about him keeping that engine. So maybe he needs to go into a longer camp. Maybe he needs to be a little bit more, take it a little bit more serious, because I can only imagine that he had a training camp of about, what, two months. Maybe he needs to be in there a little bit longer, to get his fitness, because he was still quite podgy. If you looked at him he wasn't really in fighting weight shape. If you look at Tommy and look at them both, when you compare them both body wise, Tommy was in a lot better shape.
I mean, it's always good to hear your opinion on the big YouTube fights, of course. Now, his big brother Tyson was actually ringside.
Yeah.
We're praying that with Usyk for all the belts come sooner rather than later. Talk to me. How do you see that one panning out? Who wins that?
That'd be a very technical fight. I've seen Usyk train in Dubai when I was over there. He invited me to the gym, so I went to see him train before the Joshua 2 fight. And look, one thing about Usyk, he's very calculated, a very calculated guy. He's one of them type of guys that kind of sees everything. He's so sharp. I mean, he'll make you miss by an inch and come back with a shot, or he'll draw you into a fight, or maybe he's just very, very skillful. Typical Eastern European style. The fight is like, he's still got his amateur style as well. If you think about it, he has his hand out, puts it out there, lures you in, catches you, then moves off. He's not like, and if he has to fight inside the pocket, he can do that as well. So that's one thing. When I saw him train in person, he looked amazing. And if he's fighting someone like Tyson Fury, I think Tyson, look, in my opinion, Tyson is the best heavyweight for a long time we've seen. And I mean, especially with what he did against Deontay Wilder, he destroyed him.
Yeah.
And there's no one out there to touch him. I can't see anyone beating him. But with the fight between Usyk and Tyson, it will be a very competitive fight, don't get me wrong. Usyk still has the fundamentals and he knows how to get in there, he knows how to throw the right shots. But I just feel like Tyson has too much for him. He's got too much size, he's got too much speed, and he's got too much power. He is a real heavyweight, whereas Usyk, I still feel that he's not really that big heavyweight fighter he is.
Elsewhere in the heavyweight division, we've got Deontay Wilder, who was at ringside at the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight. Can he come back and kind of put his name in the mix for a world title? Can he come back and regain a world title?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one thing about Deontay Wilder. He's such a big, heavy puncher. And if you think about his career, he's not really had that many wars. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. He had 2 wars against. Was it 2 fights or 3 fights he had against Fury?
Three fights against Fury.
So,
but the last two were wars, really.
Yeah, there were wars, and it took a lot out of him. But when someone's got power like the power he has, I think he'll always have a chance. Maybe, I don't know how he's going to look after the losses he's had against Fury, but he seemed very confident sat there when he was at the fight on the weekend. When Tommy Fury fought Jake, he seemed very confident. But he is one fighter in the heavyweight division which you can't really look past, because he's got that power which can destroy a lot of people. Even a good boxer could get knocked out, with the power he's got. He's got crazy power.
I think he's always got a chance in a fight, like Amir said. Like his punching power is serious. And I watched him live against Luis Ortiz, and he lost every minute of every round. And he hit him a shot and just turned his lights out about round 9, I think. Yeah, he's always dangerous.
One thing about fighters like that is, even they could be losing a fight, sometimes they'll take some punishment just to get his opponent tired. I mean, Luis Ortiz was destroying Wilder, but then what Wilder did was put 2-3 punches together, boom, and knocked him out. And you would never have expected that. But that's one thing about heavyweights and heavy punches. He's not only a heavy puncher, he's a heavy puncher. He hits hard. And like say, and when he hits you with a clean shot, you're gone. I remember also training with another fighter who Virgin Hunter was training, who fought against Deontay Wilder. I forgot his name now on top of my head. He got knocked out, but he was a former 2012 Olympian. But for some reason, couldn't get going in the fight, and he got knocked out because he got caught with a big shot. So that's one thing about these heavyweights. If you get the right shot in, it's game over.
We've also got some serious Brits in the heavy. We've got Joe Joyce, who's fighting Zhang on April 15th, which is it's a tough fight, right?
Yeah, Zhang is a durable fighter, and I think it's another step up for Joe Joyce. I think it's a good step up, a step up that he can win in good fashion and good style. But like I said, now it's starting to get hard for him. Now the heavyweights are coming out. He's gonna be in some tough, rugged fights, and it's gonna show us that how good Joe Joyce could be.
And then you've also got AJ coming up with a fight against Jermaine Franklin. If he comes through that, is he back in the mix?
I think so. I think look, it just depends how he comes through that fight. If AJ goes in the fight and he knocks him out within like 4 or 5 rounds and looks really good by knocking him out, then yeah. But if he goes in the fight and it's a tough 12-round fight, maybe he's been caught a few times, he might need 1 or 2 more fights just to build his confidence back up and then go back in that world level. But it just depends how he comes out of this fight. I think he can beat Franklin. Franklin is a rugged, tough fighter, comes forward, throws them big shots. But it just depends how AJ wins this fight. I think he will win the fight, but it's how he wins the fight. If he gets a knockout, then I think he's straight back in the mix. But if he goes the full distance, it might be a little bit tough.
Finally, listen, I've got to ask you, who's your top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world today? Who's making your list?
Top 5. So I think Usyk has to be number 1. Nah, you know what? Nah, I put Tyson Fury number 1. I'll put Usyk number 2. I'll put Crawford number 3. You could probably put Spence in there as well, number 4. And number 5, Canelo. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, that would be my list. Not bad list, huh? If I was going on battle, if I had them fight with me, I'd be all right.
You'd be all right, yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Right, Amir, Carl, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Amir, you've been a brilliant guest, and we'll see you next time on Chatbox.
Thanks for having me. Carl, good seeing you.
Thanks, Amir.